Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel Custom Viking. Today guys, it's a tricky question because you can say, as I have answered, are the cheap knife better than the expensive knife? And there are a quick question to that, and you can say yes it is. And why? Because also that is the way I do it, like the most of the guys in the whole world do it. That's because you can say, when you got a budget knife and you got a cheap knife, that will be used more. So you can say, if you have an expensive knife with some special steel, you maybe got a knife from $500, $600, $700. Are you going to use that knife as much as you were with a knife with $80? No, you won't. And that's why it is so difficult to compare these two knives with each other, because you can say somehow, yeah, you take a cheap knife. I know I mention here again in this video Cold Steel, because they have some really good budget knives, and they are tested, guys. And many of them are tested to the breaking point. Many of them breaks, many of them chip out, many of them has a fault in some cases. Not only Cold Steel, but that's also with other brands it's the same. And that's of course because when you use it and test it more, of course the knife will get, more breakouts. And that's of course something that is 100% certain. So you can take example these two knives here. You can take these Buck knife here. This is a special edition. This one here with some special coating and handles on, and this is the normal Buck in the combat series here. I have used this knife maybe 2 times, and I use this knife 200 times. So you can say, can you compare these two knives? No, you can't. But if I have used them exactly the same 200 times, you can of course compare these two knives there. So there are a lot of yap all over the internet when people almost get a fight over no, don't buy this cheap knife there because it will break. I have seen over 100 videos with this where this knife is gonna break. Yeah, of course you have, because this knife has been tested so many times. Because if you break it, you can easily buy a new one, and you don't so if you want to go out and test a knife for $500 or $600 and it break, you will be sad, I know. So that's why this is very difficult to compare these two knife. And I know out there because I have owned and still own some of the knife who are expensive but are crap. And I will tell you why. That's because in somehow that's it's the same when you are a company and start something up. You can, if you are a product, a car or a motorcycle or knives or everything else, you have to be established in this community. So you make good stuff, because if you don't make good stuff, people will not buy these things there. So when you buy good stuff, you think, oh, that's a good thing there I have going on. So I really like this company, in this case here, a knife. And the company grows and they find out, okay, there are money in this crap here. So of course they will maybe get earned more money. So they bring down the value in these knives, and they maybe bring down the steel. They maybe get some other to make the heat treatment so it's not the same. But they have established a good name, so they keep on doing with this knife. And you can say, when you see someone hold this knife there, this is a $700 knife, this is the best knife in the whole world and the best deal and the best yabbly yap. But have you tested? No, you don't. So you can say, in some matter, yeah, of course, many companies out there are still making high value knives when you pay for it, and they are exactly the same as where as they started. And that's also why we see now more custom knives are coming into place, because people would really like to pay a little bit more and get a custom knife, because they know that this is the good quality. Can a custom knife break? Yeah, it can. So you can say you are not always 100% certain. As I mentioned before with these two buck knives here, I think because they are a good established company, they will hold up exactly the same. And also, people think also when you give a lot of money in something, it must be unbreakable. It must be something else, but that is not always the case, because sometimes you are not just paying for the steel, you maybe are paying for some extra prima handles, or there are some brass things on it and they have put a lot of hours in the knife, so you have to pay in that case. So you can say here, I know this is not the best compares here, guys, because I really love the both of these knives here, and I have tested them, and that's also why I can sit here and talk about that. Because you can say I talk a little bit trash, no, not trash, I talk a little bit down to expensive knives, and I think that is what can I say, I can do that with a good background. And I know I have tested this knife here really hard, both of them. You can see my review on it if you don't believe it, and they hold up. But you can say, if I have to choose one, and this knife here, I think this is around $60 or $70 and something like that, and this one here is around $300 or $400. So would I choose this knife here over this knife every time? No, I won't, because this knife for me here is exactly just as much worth as this knife here, because I have tested this knife. So when you talk about my favorite, do I like this handle better or this handle or something, that's just a whole different video, guys. But in somehow, when you could say, when you have value and in knives, and I think this knife here is just as value for me as this knife here, even as it has cost 3 times more than this one. And that's because when I test something, I know the truth about the steel, I know the truth about the heat treatment, and I know the truth about how this knife will hold up, and the hold up for me is the value of it. I have also knives that I have never used and just hang on the wall, because I know they are, what can you say, expensive. I know there are limited runs, and they are also a beauty to look at. Would they really hold up if I took them down and beat the crap out of them? Honestly, I don't know, because I have never done it. So that is the same case when you talk about you have a good product and you have a cheap product. But you can of course always say, when I have a cheaper knife, but there are something more you have to consider. Many of the videos that have this content here about budget knife and expensive knife are around 5 or 10 years or maybe older on YouTube. So there are a lot of things going on in the last 10 years with knives, and I will say some of the best maybe American made knives for maybe 8 or 10 years ago. You have the cheapest Chinese made knife today are just as good as this one, because they are also upgrading, not only after what you could say the popularity, but also after what they can sell. And you can say today, when we talk about knives, you have to, there are something you can value knives on, and that is, will they hold up, will they break? they are not good. I have many folders I really like to use, but I know if I baton just a little bit or use it a little bit hard, it will break, but I really still love that folder. And that's also the case when I have a lot of cheap folders from Cold Steel with the Triad lock. They will really beating the crap out of them, and they hold up very good. So you can say, as the intro say, can you compare a cheap knife with expensive knife? No, you can't, because there are not so many tests on the expensive knives. You can say I could maybe start something out. I could maybe buy 10 expensive knives and really buy a cheap 10 budget knife and put them up together, and I can 100% with my background tell you I will see failure in the expensive knife, and I will also see failure in the budget knives. So there are something that was a little bit because I saw a video the other day on YouTube. I will not mention any names or anything, but he held a knife in his hand and he was all over up to the sky because it was a very good steel. It was a very good what can you say, the one who have making the knife, and so everything is check out when you say, but this knife I could never, I really searched for it, but I could not find one single video on YouTube where this knife was tested. So you can say, maybe if you are in a situation you think, okay, now I really need a big badass knife. I grab this one because it has cost $1,000. It can chop a car in two or something like that, and you go out and that probably the first or second time you chop some wood with it, it could easily break. You never know. So that's why somehow I like cheap knives better than I like the expensive ones, and that's because the cheap ones are tested more. Also myself, I test them more. I am not so afraid to break something on a cheap knife because this is easily to buy someone again, and that's the fact, guys. That is the fact and the truth, that the cheap knives are more tested and they are more used. And you can say, do you have more breakouts with them? Yeah, you have, because they are more tested. Now I have explained myself the same time 5 or 6 times now, but I hope you got the idea. But in this case here, that will always be that you can say the hypes knives and the knife now who are popular will always get more expensive. So you can say, do you buy a knife sometime for looks? Yes, you do. I also do that. And will I know if they hold up? You never know, because you have not tested it. So that is the depth and the truth. Maybe it is the sad truth, but it is the truth, guys. So you can say, and somehow I like cheap knife better, and that's why I have always taken the Cold Steel in today, because Cold Steel have put so many videos up on YouTube on knives. They have also cheap knives, and they are awesome. I really think they are awesome. And you can say when you break it, okay, I am not so sad about it, and not only because it's cheap, but also, okay, that must have been a little bit bad material or something like that. But today, as I mentioned before, you can get cheap Chinese knife. They are really strong, really good. And again, as I have always mentioned in my videos, you can have the best steel in the world, but if you don't know how to heat treat, this knife is nothing worth. I would rather have some less, more cheaper steel, and if they know how to heat treatment, they are really good. Even always in this time here, 2026, when people talk about 44 steel, they think, oh, that is bad, that is crap, that will bend, that will do something, and and in somehow they are incorrect or correct. But this is something from back in the time when you go 10 years back, yes, 44 steel was a bad steel because people back then don't know how to heat treat it. But today, when you have some good quality 44 steel and know how to heat treat it, it is an awesome steel, and they have some good quality in it with some wear resistant and all that. And I'll try to get back to the focus here, guys. So you can say, is the cheap knife better than the expensive ones? Again, you will never know, but in my opinion it is, because as long we do more tests and do use more cheap knives, they will always be better because they are used more. So in my opinion, in this case here, I will go with the cheaper knife. And of course, you can own both of them. So that's something that is nice in this matter here. This video here is only because I saw this video the other day, as I say, and I think I will make a video, in my opinion, on cheap and expensive knife, what I think they are the best. So yeah, that will be it for that. I hope you can use something in it. And remember, guys, we are now writing 2026, so the history and YouTube video from 10 or 15 years ago with how, oh, this knife brand that makes this steel, this is a bad knife or something like that, you cannot compare and hold up to that anymore, because there are so much going on with something that can heat treat better and how they make the steel, and I am 100% certain that there are some really bad knives out there who have sold a lot of them because they are made in America. This knife is 100% USA made. Yeah, it is, but is it better than the Chinese one? You'll never know. So that is the case, if you can say so. But of course today, guys, I have just seen a lot of video from the SHOT Shows 2026 on YouTube, and I will say I'm really looking positive on knife right now, because I can see they really going more in depth with finesses and how the steel is made, and also what can I say, before it was a little bit more about the blade. Now they have a lot of focus on the handle also. So yeah, that's something I think that is awesome. So there are good hopes for cheap knives and also expensive knives out there. And in somehow I also think when you have a good knife designer and you have a good knife company who really put so many hours in the knife, of course you shall have to pay for it. But to say this expensive knife here is better than my cheap cold steel knife or whatever cheap budget knife you have is a lie. You can never tell it. There are only one way you can tell it, and that is if you take a cheap and this expensive knife, go out and hold them up together and do the same test with them, and give them a really hard test. You can then say, okay, I bent my cheap knife, but my expensive knife hold on, so that is a better knife. But just hanging on the wall, just show it off, you have no idea what knife it is the best today, guys. Sorry, that is the truth. So yeah, that was all from the Custom Viking here. I hope you can use this for something. And I only have one thing more to say. Don't go hiking. Go hiking!